In order to become a master of the magical arts, you honestly don't need to know that much. Well, at least when it comes to card magic. I mean, of course, there's some cool moves you can learn, like the Jones change, the clip shift, or the bottom deal, but you don't need them. Those things are more of a nice to have in your skills arsenal. I would say 80% of card tricks, if not more, use one of these three principles. So, let's talk about them. What up, crew? It is Magic Monday, and this is your place to learn magic, master your performance, and captivate audiences. In today's video, I'm going to change it up, not do the typical stuff I do, but talk about the three main principles in card magic. These are things that you need to know if you're starting out in card magic, or you really want to work towards perfection if you're refining your skills. So without any further ado, the first skill that you need to know is probably one of the first skills you learn. Or maybe it's a part of one of the first card tricks you ever see when your friends are showing you at the lunch table. It is the double lift, the act of showing two cards and displaying them as one. The second skill is something you really need when a spectator selects a card and inserts it back into the deck. Do you know what I'm about to say? It is the card control, the ability to control a card anywhere in the deck. And the third is something that'll give you insane possibilities if gone undetected. If you can do this to perfection without anyone knowing, you can make miracles. Miracles! It is the humble ability to force a card. Make the spectator believe they have a completely free choice when doing a card selection, and of course, you're giving them the card that you want them to have. Before we continue, if you're new to this channel or Magic in general, subscribe. You always need to subscribe. But really, I would recommend taking your time learning these techniques, and when you're practicing, practice all of these moves together. Obviously not at the same exact time, but you don't want to perfect one move, then perfect the next one, then perfect the next one. Practice them all in parallel together. And now if you've been with me for a while or you're a seasoned magician, you've probably seen me cover a lot of these things on this channel. Like the double lift, I've talked about that so much. But don't worry, I may be sharing with you some alternative methods that you can try out and maybe you'd even like more. All that being said, I think you're ready, I'm ready, let's do it. As I was mentioning, I have many videos on the double lift on this channel. In this version, I'll be showing you the easiest way to do a pinky count to get a double lift. Some people consider this as one of the best methods to do a double lift, but personally I've always had trouble doing the pinky count until a few years ago when I finally figured it out. Oh, so good. It seemed impossible for me until I learned this technique. Let's check out the pinky count double lift. Starting off with this version of the double lift, you'll be holding the deck in somewhat of a modified mechanics grip like so. You'll have your thumb on top of the deck here, applying pressure downwards or pinching the deck between this part of your index finger and your thumb, so pushing here. Your index finger will be curled across the top and applying a little bit of pressure in the downwards direction on the deck. And then you have the middle ring and pinky finger on the side, just shift it down a little bit. You want to make sure your pinky finger is near the bottom corner of the deck, right? So I'm holding the deck in my non-dominant hand because my dominant hand is the right hand, so I'm holding the deck in my left hand. But so you'll see that the pinky finger is on the bottom right-hand side. If you're holding the deck in your right hand, it would be on the bottom left-hand side. From here, when you're doing the pinky count, you want to move these two fingers slightly back and then pull down with the pinky. You may have to develop some kind of muscle in your pinky to be able to pull down correctly, but if you're pulling down here, you won't have to do too much practice if you're also pushing down and pinching with a thumb and index finger here. So if this is being done properly, this grip is very important. Then you should be able to kind of almost pull your pinky down. It's almost a riffling motion. You're almost doing a riffle with the pinky. Let me just get in proper grip. You're almost doing a riffling with your pinky like so, and the way the riffling is being done by applying pressure here. So your pinky is not really doing much riffling. It's a thumb that's squeezing and that's bringing the deck up like so. After a little bit of practice, you should be able to count off two cards like so, and then push them back down, get into your normal grip, and have that pinky break right underneath the top two cards. And if you want a little more in-depth tutorial on the pinky count, I'll put the link on the screen. You can go ahead and check it out. From here, we actually execute the double lift. I take my middle finger, insert it right above that pinky break, take my index finger, put it below the top two cards as well, holding it a little bit like this. Then I pinch with my thumb, ensuring these cards don't separate. So in order to prevent that, I kind of square it up with my thumb and index finger, and then I can just slide it across like so, turn it over and catch it between this flesh part of my thumb here. So it's like this, showing off the card, showing off two cards as one. Then you want to just push over with your thumb, grab this corner, make sure to square everything up as you're grabbing. So grab this corner, again, same grip as when you're turning it over in the first place, then drag it down, flip over, and there is your double. Up to speed, it would look something like this. One of the main concerns that people have with this version of the double lift is when you're doing a pinky count, you can see from this angle, the cards will start popping up at this corner like so. So that's why if you're using this version, you want to kind of be sure to tilt the deck back a little bit to prevent the spectator or the person standing in front of you from being able to see the pinky count. And that's really it for this version. I may have made it look a little bit easier than it actually is, but that's just because I've been practicing it for quite some time now. But if you do want a full tutorial on how I even do the my normal strike double lift, you can go ahead. I'll put the tutorial on it on the screen as well. You can go ahead and check that out. Next, we'll be talking about the control of cards. Not that kind of control, but the ability to move a card anywhere in the deck undetected. And there are tons and tons and tons of card control tutorials out there, but the one I'm going to be sharing with you is in my top 3, if not number 1. It is the cull control. Let's check it out. So this may be one of my favorite card controls, right? So I like to start off by having a spectator go ahead and select a card. Let's say it is the 9 of hearts. Now, I get a break under the top 3 cards. So when you're getting a break on the top 3 card, I know we just discussed the pinky count. You could do a pinky count and count those 3 cards off. Get the break this way, and you'll be inserting the card in there. Or, if you're not too comfortable doing the pinky count yet, you can count off in the back with your thumb, 1, 2, 3. Or you can just slide off 3 cards, pull them back, and get the break this way. But you want the break to look something like this, where it's going across the entire back of the deck. So we had our card 9 of hearts selected. We're going to insert it right into the break. So this move is called the Marlo Tilt. From the front perspective, it's going to be looking like you're inserting the card somewhere randomly in the center of the deck, and then you're pushing that in. And you could even show the spectator the card's nowhere on top. The card is also not on the bottom. And when you're doing this cull control, let's say you want to control the card to the bottom of the deck, just to make it a little bit easier on us, but you can adapt this control to your needs when you're performing. So the way I like to do this is I push over one card, push over the second card, and push over the third and fourth card as close together as possible, looking something like this. And from here, what's really going to happen is you'll see the card underneath the third card is our selected card, or the spectator's selected card, the 9 of hearts. You're going to be pulling this card back like so, and you're going to be pushing the rest of the cards underneath that card. So regardless of where the spectator says stop, even if they say stop here, you'd square up and show the 9 of hearts, okay? But we're controlling it to the bottom, so let's just say you go through the whole deck, square everything up, and the card has now been controlled to the bottom. Let's do that one more time so I can cover it in a little bit more detail. So you have a card selected, 10 of clubs. You can do your pinky count or get your break in whatever way you like. And now you lift up the deck. We're doing the Marlo Tilt. Insert this deck into this break here. Make it seem like you're inserting it somewhere in the center. Push that in. And what I like to do at this point is just shift the deck back and forth like so to show the spectator that it's being inserted somewhere into the center. And it also helps me to take this break and lower it to the rest of the deck if I'm doing that motion. Then from here, you're pushing one card, another card, and then 2 cards at once. And you're using your middle finger and ring finger to pull that card back, okay? And as you can see, when I'm pulling this card back, sometimes it gets pulled back at an angle like this, which is definitely not what we want, or something like this. You want to practice in having it come as smoothly as possible across these 3 cards, okay? Because the smoother it is, the less chance that it'll be detected. But I also use a little bit of misdirection while performing this move. So I usually go through like this, and I almost use it as, for example, in a trick, let's say I'm doing a trick where I want the spectator to call out stop, and wherever they stop will be their selected card that we lost in the deck, right? So I push 1, 2, 1, 2, and here I kind of stop for a second. I gesture towards the spectator saying, do you know what you have to do, or do you understand that you have to call out stop, or just say stop whenever you're ready? And as I'm doing this motion, I pull this card back, and then I continue going towards, spreading through the rest of the deck whenever they call it stop. Stop here, and there we have our selected card. And the reason I love this control so much is because you can really control the card to anywhere you want in the deck aside from the top 3 cards. So it's so easy to even take this card, control it, and if you want it between 2 cards, let's say you have 2 cards flipped up in the center here. You can show them as empty. You can control that card in between those cards. You know, you could even push it in, and the card gets pushed out towards the other end. So there are really so many possibilities that you can use the culling. You can even use it as a force. So I gotta say, just because of how volatile this move is, it is definitely one of my favorites. And if you want a full tutorial on it, I'll put the link on the screen. You can go ahead and check it out. Oh boy, you're looking pretty good there. You got the double lift, you got the card control. What's next? It's the card force, of course. The card force, of course. It sounds lovely. I can say that all day. The card force, of course. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the movie Now You See Me. In the beginning of the movie, Jesse Eisenberg forces the 7 of diamonds or something on a spectator, and they think they selected it, having a free choice. Then he makes a building light up with the face of that card, and then proceeds to get laid. Not realistic, trust me, I know. But anyway, let's check out one of my favorite card forces, the slip force. Alright, so as I mentioned, the forces are some of the most powerful techniques in all of Magic, because you can really make magic happen. Is that the best way to put it? So forces in card Magic are so powerful because you can literally, the world is your oyster when you're doing card forces, especially if they go completely undetectable. So the force I want to talk to you about is called the slip force, and it used to be one of my favorite #1 go-to forces when I first started out in card Magic, and I'm not as good with it as I was like 10 years ago, but I think it still works wonders, okay? So the whole premise behind it is you're riffling through the side of the deck, the spectator calls out stop, you lift at that position, and the card they stopped at should be the forced card. Unfortunately, life is not that simple, and we have to do a little bit of sleight of hand. So the reason why this is called a slip force is when you're riffling through the side of the deck, you're actually going to be lifting up this whole packet, but you're slipping off the top card onto the top of the deck and showing that to the spectator. Getting into the grip, you hold the deck in a mechanics grip like so. Take your index finger, curl it on the bottom of the deck, and this will kind of help with the riffling motion, because as you apply force upwards, your thumb will be able to riffle much more easily on the side of the deck, okay? So you have that grip all set, and you have these 3 fingers on the side. Now as you're riffling, when the spectator calls out stop, you're going to hold this almost in a biddle grip, so you have your middle finger, ring finger on top here, and your thumb on the bottom, okay? And as this hand comes up like this to lift off this packet, you kind of get it at an angle, and as you get it at an angle, these fingers will make more surface contact with the top card, so they're making more contact here. So now they're able to grip it more easily, and you're able to kind of just slip it right out as that card is now moved to the new location that the spectator stopped at. And this will take a little bit of practicing doing it up to speed and not making it look weird. Okay, because I know you also have to practice the angle at which you'll be performing. Because if you do it at some weird angle, like exactly at eye level, people will clearly see that you're peeling off the top card. So you want to be sure that you're holding it at the right levels. I'd highly encourage you to practice in front of a mirror. And if you can see it, chances are the spectator can see it. So you want to get to a point where you can just do it so easily that it's pretty much undetectable, which is the entire point. I've actually done this force so many times, I've duplicated it or repeated it for the same trick over and over and over and over again, showing my audience that they're always stopping at the same card. So I was riffling, oh look at that, you stopped at the ace of clubs. Riffling, oh look at that, you stopped at ace of clubs again, this is just unreal. And I had a lot of fun doing that. I think after like the 40th or 50th time, they caught on and asked me to see the top card, but it still worked 40 to 50 times on the same audience. But just a quick tip I want to leave you with. When you're riffling, you grab. You want to make sure you're not pulling out directly to the side, because that is very weird. You want to try to mimic the most natural motion that you have. So imagine yourself actually doing this this way to select a card, where you're riffling and lifting up like this. You want to do your best to copy this exact same motion. So I'm doing it like this. I'm riffling. I don't go directly straight up. I kind of go like this. I'm lifting it up. I kind of go at an angle, and then I display like that. So here, when you're grabbing the card now, you grab, I tilt the deck at an angle, and I come up like so. And that's just how I naturally do it now. So you want to see what's most natural for you and try to follow that as closely as possible. And there you have the slip force. And there you have it, 3 moves to make you an instant magician. All right, instant may be a strong word. It'll require a bit of practice. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any thoughts to share with me on moves people must learn to become a magician, do let me know down in the comments below. If I agree with you and this video ends up getting a ton of views, maybe I'll make a part 2. Maybe. Anyway guys, have a great day ahead, and I'll see you in my next video.